we had too much pre-show banter going just now. And I'm not mad about it.
It was good banter.
It's good banter. And speaking of good banter, it's just going to be the two of our banters tonight, because this is the Casual Hour, a podcast ostensibly about video games, but mostly about Johnny not being here. Thank God. I'm your host, Bobby Pease. Joining me as always, that's the key word here, always joining me.
Always. I'm reliable.
The gamer on the go, Chase Kennedy. Chase, how are you?
Bobby.
You're better than Johnny, apparently.
Well, sure. I'm not sick.
The
thing that gets me, I was G-chatting with him today.
Yeah.
And I sent him a message, and he sent me back. He's like, "Oh, I'm feeling, a little under the weather." And my first thing I wrote to him was like, "Oh, so you probably not coming on the show?" No, I feel fine. And then 5 minutes later, he sent both of us a text going like, "I'm probably gonna miss the show." And I'm like, "Dude, I was right here. I asked the fucking question."
You gave him the easy out. That's what happened. See,
I tried.
You did us a favor in all reality. We don't need him here.
You can lead Johnny to water, but you can't make him do the podcast. I don't
know. Chase, we've been hanging out quite a bit. We've had some quick looks that we did. We got to hang out Monday night. You and I got to play a depressing hand of XCOM Enemy Unknown. We
went out in a blaze of glory.
It really was the best way we could have gone out. After 8 parts of that, you can go and watch that on our YouTube channel, or you can watch it here on Twitch. But yeah, part 8, the final part of our XCOM Monday. My first time playing Enemy Unknown. Your first time watching me get embraced by the cold embrace of XCOM. That was a good time. And
it was a good time. I do want to point out, we're playing with the Enemy Within DLC added, which I had not played with before. And there was one specific mission that kept coming up that fucked us over multiple times, and I think really put us on that downward spiral.
Yeah, it was.
I think we would have lost either way with the way that both of us were playing, but I want to grab a little bit of dignity to say, like, hey, I didn't know about some of that shit that was happening.
Yeah, so that's behind us, and thank goodness, because tonight we're going to tell you about some games we've been playing, and there's some new ones that we're going to go over, but because of said new games, we also have to face our dirty little secrets, which are the games that we've kept installed in places, reminding ourselves that we need to play them, slightly moving past them on the list when we go to a newer game for this here podcast to discuss. But we're going to talk about our backlog, as embarrassing as it may be. And the reason you brought this up, and I think it's really smart. Anybody who comes in on chat while we're recording this episode live, they can talk to us a little bit. We're trying to persuade one another on, hey, these are games that are important to us or to me or you for 2021 that you should check out before the year's up. But also, like, hey, I need to finish some of these because they are important to me, and I need to stop fucking around with all this new shit and get back to I need to stop chasing waterfalls is what I need to do, Chase. I need to stick to the indie titles I'm used to.
I mean, we're at the end of September now. Like we are 9 months through the year. That's 3/4 of the way. So on one hand, we're really close to the end of the year. We're really close to when we do Game of the Year stuff.
Yep.
We need to start kind of figuring out how to wrap some stuff up. On the other hand, we've got 2.5 months. I wouldn't say 3 months exactly, because we record the Game of the Year stuff before Christmas time for sure. And that means we actually don't have a lot of time. No. So we both have some time to like get this in and make some decisions here and play some games that we meant to play. And then on the other hand, like we need to get some shit done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about that and see, because the worst thing is when we go into Game of the Year and we've got one person who says this game is awesome, this is one of the best games of the year, and the other two kind of just have to sit on their hands and go, well, I didn't play it, I don't really know. No. I trust you, but like there are these other games that we like better because we know them. And I think this is our opportunity to go, hey, if you haven't played, so if we had done this last year, I would have said, "Hey, you motherfuckers should play 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim."
Mm-hmm.
I also would have told that to myself because I didn't finish that game in 2020. I finished it this year and
Right.
really, really enjoyed it. But like that's the kind of game that just didn't get a lot of love for us for Game of the Year because I was the only one who really touched it. Johnny could kind of appreciate it from afar, but and then you are anti-anime
Well, I was down.
until now. Like now you're the most pro anime person I know.
I've had visions.
At least when it comes to gotcha elements in your
Yeah,
anime.
I'm deep in it again, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But yeah, I am getting ready to start a new anime. We were going to kick it off tonight, but we were.
Oh, hang on.
Hmm?
Yeah, when you say you were going to start watching an anime, that is a little misleading. You are going to watch a Star Wars cartoon.
That's made by some very
That
well-renowned
that
anime
is
artists.
yes. I get you. And I watched the first 2 episodes, and I'll say, first episode, fucking fire. Second episode, pretty shitty.
Oh, really? Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's something to like in the second episode, but
Okay.
the first one is so good, and the second
That's
one,
the duel, right? It looks like a Ronin.
oh, it's so fucking good.
I'm gonna check it out. Sarah and I,
Oh,
we had we're watching What If, and we had to get caught up on What If there,
yeah,
so we did that.
the lightsaber gimmick in the first episode. I won't tell you what it is, but the lightsaber gimmick is so good.
Can't wait.
Oh, it's
I
so
can't
cool.
wait. I'll check it out hopefully soon.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna talk about our backlog. Let's kind of map out the episode for everybody. Welcome to our show. We're gonna talk about the games that we've been playing, and there's some really cool new ones. So I can't wait to get into what you've been playing with you all. After that, we're gonna talk about our backlog. We're gonna talk about the games that we need to finish, the games that we think we should play, leading into the Game of the Year 2021. And then we've got a handful of news stories that we're gonna wrap up the episode with. Again, Johnny's out, Patrick's out. Hope they're doing all right. We'll see them next week, I'm sure. Chase, let's get into it. We got a lot to talk about. And
Sure.
if you're going in the order that I see on this note here,
Yes.
that
So I feel a little bad because I mean I love this game that we're about to talk about. I think you love it even more than I do somehow. So I feel a little bad that I'm the one who's starting it, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure you're further ahead. Or well, I know you're further ahead than I am. I'm still in the second town. So I feel like I kind of want to say my piece so you know
yeah,
what you can and can't talk
yeah,
about.
no,
If that makes sense.
that's totally fair.
Cool. So let's stop beating around the bush. We're talking about Eastward, which
yeah.
is a game that we've been at a while. You know, not anticipating probably as much as something like Sable, which comes out tomorrow or yesterday, depending on when you're listening to this. But it's one of those games that you look at a trailer and you go, "Oh, I need that. I need that
Yep.
in my life." Published by Chucklefish, the same people who published the Wargroove game, which also incredibly pretty pixel art.
Stardew Valley.
And this game is no different. Yeah, I mean Stardew Valley, I think that is nice pixel art, but it is a little bit more traditional. That's kind of what pixel art looks like. Whereas this is doing stuff that I don't expect pixel art to be able to do. Or at least nobody's putting in the work. And holy shit, the way they've put in the work on the pixel art. I mean, I think the game is good too, but it is stunning to look at. The amount of animations, the amount of just quirky little animations that are buried in a corner, or you have to talk to somebody to see them do like a little hair flip, and just the amount of effort that goes into all these little details is so good.
I said this, so we've got a quick look up for this game also.
I want to apologize for my audio on the quick look. We had some issues on my audio. We had to use a different audio source, so it sounds bad for me anyway. But
it's not our best, but
later.
I think there's a good discussion to be heard there. So if you can work through it, there's some good takes on that. But I said it there. I've said it to a few people outside of you. I'm going to go on a limb here, and like this is a really big statement for me, but I can't think in recent memory of a game that I feel nails pixel art. Like this might be the best looking pixel art I've seen. Like it is unlike anything I've experienced. To your point, it doesn't come across busy. It doesn't come across in a way where it's like we're just filling in. Like the animations have purpose. They look great. There's it's like watching I can't even begin to like explain like how captivating it is. There's times that like I just stop moving my character to take in the area I'm in. I'm like scanning like a Where's Waldo, looking at this stuff, trying to figure out like, am I missing something here? And it's so intentional and it's so well done. I really can't say enough good things about the art for this.
Yeah.
And the developers are Pixpill behind this one.
Right, they're a Shanghai-based developer, and wow, did they knock it out of the park? And I think there are other aspects of this game that they also did extremely well on, and I want to talk about those, but I still just want to keep talking about the art and the
Yeah.
animation. Like you watch the idle animations, like you said, you just stop moving your character and just watch what's on the screen.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned how it doesn't look busy, and I think that's really important because there's a pixel art kind of game, especially one as detailed as this. It's easy to miss the forest for the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just so much stuff in there, but I think the way they've designed things from backgrounds to characters. Maybe it's a little bit of the way that colors work in there or saturation of things, but it is so easy for me to be able to go, oh, that's where one of the save points is, even though it looks, just as detailed and gorgeous as the rest of the game. It's easy to pick out those kinds of things, and I don't get my character lost. I am able to see things on the map and not miss stuff. And yet there are still some secrets. Like I went through that second town and was able to go into kind of the down low part where it's kind of the fields, the tall grass.
Yeah.
And I was able to get around and find that secret chest.
Oh, cool.
Because it doesn't look like you can get through that way, but if you go through, you can. And I think that's just really good art direction.
Let me just throw this in there really quick because I know we're going to move on past the art, but like for me, one of the things that's pretty wild is when I look at games that have done pixel art in the past, like they've usually stayed in the lane. What I mean is it's like, okay, this is a cityscaper or this is something that's going to be like more like out in the woods. This game covers so many different types of environments because you're literally going from town to town. And each town, the level of detail and personality, like not only at the towns, but in between the towns, is insane because I know like when you're working on a project, like you're obviously trying to convey a story and you're trying your best to illustrate that here. But a lot of times you'll see them really nail, as I mentioned, one architect or like one architecture of this. This game does it all. And like the moments that you're talking about in the field, well, like you literally come out of a subterranean area, like cave systems and all that, which the way that they do the lighting even in the cave is great. But then you start to move over to where you're at, and then you get into more of like what I would say is like a traditional like Chinese city. Like it's very vertical, and that's the New Dam area that I'm in, and it's insane to see how it is and like the times of day, how they use that to tell their story and like what that looks like and how that changes not only the city and the towns and the woods, but the color palettes and your characters, and it's just boy.
That was gonna be my last point. Like I just got to the point in this second town where it goes from day to evening, and it's all the same pixel art, but it's just a completely different color palette, and the warmth of it is so good. It's just so smartly designed artistically. It's got such an aesthetic to it, and the music as well is pretty killer. I think this is a best style darling, as it were, right now, and I know there will be other games that go in that category that will probably be deserving, but I am hard pressed to think of another game I think is more visually and audibly impressive than Eastward.
Yeah, I can't say more that you have.
Let's get into what Eastward is. This is a kind of top-down RPG. It's pretty linear story-based, but it definitely has elements of Earthbound into it in terms of, hey, it's kind of a modern or even post-apocalyptic in a way, or maybe not, or maybe it seems like it's post-apocalyptic and then it isn't. It's able to play in a world where it's not just swords and magic and stuff like that. It is.
I mean, do they even I don't want to give it away too much. It doesn't say, like, it's not going to spoil it, but somebody drops, hey, let's blow this popsicle stand. And so, I mean, like, that's, there it
Yeah.
is. Like, it's huge.
But it's an RPG in like a non-traditional RPG setting, and that is cool. I enjoy that. It also definitely has a lot of Zelda in there as well, with the way a
Yep.
lot of mechanics work, a lot of little flares and touches.
Yeah.
We mentioned this on the quick look, but if you find you'll be in these kind of dungeon areas where you need to find a key, and if you find the key, your characters turn around and hold it up like you would in a Zelda game.
The
There are pieces of
fanfare
heart,
is
there are
so
literal
good.
pieces of heart in this game. Like it is definitely going for that Zelda style, and it nails it, and kinds of things. It's really cool. It's got a lot of different cool mechanics to it. You have two characters that you end up controlling. In fact, I don't know, maybe you get more over the course of the game, but you at least have these two characters you can play with. And now I'm just getting to the point where I'm able to switch off these characters, and they have slightly unique abilities. And then I've also just gotten to a point where I can make a character stop and then move the other character around.
Yep.
And I'm sure that will be something that gets used in more puzzle solving as we continue the game. But it is just a really, really impressive thing. I haven't even talked about the writing, which I think is really good.
It's so good.
I mentioned this on the quick look, but every save point has its own little bit of dialogue that is interesting and fun and kind of philosophical.
I had an idea for a game of the year episode category, which is best fridge quote. And so I've been thinking about trying to like jot some of those down, and then we can just
if you compile them, I'm happy to go through them. I'm really really.
They're very good. Really quick, as we're talking about,
you want to mention?
Yeah, just from an inspiration standpoint, I say this. We keep saying like say this in a quick look. Just go watch a quick look, but I called it kind of a wholesome Joel and Ellie, like the relationship between John and Sam. She is somebody that you are looking after, that you found, and you're taking care of, and
not your daughter, but you're taking care of her like your daughter. Yeah. It definitely has some Last of Us vibes in what it's doing.
And I don't know if this person will be playable or not, but for the first time since I've been playing it, I now have a third person who stays in line with me as I'm walking around. And I'm in an area where there's no combat. That's another thing that they do that's really smart is they gray out that menu that would normally be where, like, so it's just your hearts, and they're grayed out when you're in an environment that's safe and no combat's needed. But when you get into combat, there's a really kick-ass little HUD that they have. I think that art's really cool on that too. But the menus are great. I do like the cooking game that's in it. I think that's really neat. You'll find cooking stations later on in the game, and you're collecting ingredients. So John, your character, is being renowned as a chef, and so you can do some cooking. And there's nice little bonus stats that come from it. There's a little slot machine mechanic. So if you get things lined up, you'll get extra bonuses on the food you're cooking and learning the recipes, which is a lot of fun. But it's good. It's a bit more mature than I would say like a Zelda when it comes to the writing. To Chase's point, there are some concepts and language they use that is a bit more mature. But this is a game that like I would beg people to check out. Like I think it's a really important game this year. Maybe for this generation, we're both playing on the Switch. It is on PC. I think it runs incredible on the Switch. It feels really good there. And there's some nice stuff that they do, specifically when you're on the train with the rumble of the controller. I think there's a really nice little element there that you hear the clacking or you feel the clacking of the wheels on the track, and it's a nice background feel for what's happening on screen. So it's a nice little touch. Eastward is a big game for me this year, and I'm happy to finally check it out. It has met and dare I say exceeded some of my expectations, which were already high.
Absolutely. And also, we didn't mention it. Well, we mentioned it on the quick look, but we didn't show it. The game within a game that is in there is also pretty good. I did my first run of that. It's kind of a roguelike in a way that is just built into that game. Like built in a way that it seems like a kind of traditional Dragon Quest kind of game. Yep. It's fun. The whole thing is really, really cool. It's just I just want to explore around. One, because they do such a good job of waypointing things that it's easy for me to just go, oh, I can explore because I always know where to go next.
Yep.
And also just because I know that I'll always be rewarded with seeing some cool little piece of art somewhere, or it's so good. It's
I will
so
say
good, Bobby.
it's pretty refreshing to have something this linear and this handholdy. Like for an RPG, especially one that appears to be as dense as it is, especially like a classic RPG that you would expect not to have some of these quality of life things that we're talking about with like waypoints and like, hey, here's a recipe that you have saved now, and here's an ammo crate. Like it's pretty forgiving in that sense. And I think it is a story first game before an action game, in my opinion. But I think it does a really nice job of respecting you and your time. And it brings all those quality of life things that you would expect from a modern RPG while having all the trappings and cribbing towards those old classic RPGs as well.
Yeah. As we like to say here on the Casual Hour, it's something we'll probably talk about in December.
Yeah. I absolutely think we will. Well, two of us maybe.
Yeah. If Johnny was here, I think we'd both yell at him and say that's a game he needs to play for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I would agree.
A game that I probably won't be bringing up Game of the Year time, and that is Skatebird, which, man, I just started it tonight. I know that we did a quick look on this, right? We did a quick look of a demo, like a preview of a demo of Skatebird, and you didn't like the way it controlled, and I think I was a little dismissive of you. That it's like, dude, it just plays like Tony Hawk. What are you doing? It does play like Tony Hawk, but it kind of plays like a slightly bad version of Tony Hawk.
Doesn't feel great, does it?
It doesn't, but it's serviceable. It's a serviceable enough game. It's a little less acceptable when Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 have also come to the Switch. Now, I don't know how well they play there, or how well they perform there, but from just a way that game controls, those games will control better than Skatebird. That's just not even fair.
It is on Game Pass.
I think this game
as well.
Okay, that's good. I totally check it out on Game Pass. I think it does give you a pretty good first impression. You get to create your bird at the beginning, and they have so many different species of birds, of real birds in there. Like the first one they started out with, or at least for me they did, it was just called Pink. And I was like, oh, this is just going to be like what color bird I want to be. But I moved to the next one, and it was like titmouse or something. And then I moved again, and it was robin. And then I moved again, and it was cockatiel. And then you move again. And they had so many versions. We're in St. Louis, so of course I picked the cardinal.
Absolutely.
Also, he's got like a cool little, what cardinals do. He's got his little peak up there. And then you get to choose what headgear they're wearing if you want any. I kept with the traditional headphones. But I could have also put like a top hat on him or something like that. Then you
fancy
pick
birds.
You went around the eyes, and I got these sweet wraparound shades. And then I could put like something on the neck area, and so I got this long flowy scarf. And I decided not to go for a belt or a fanny pack or something like that. And I didn't need a cape. You don't need a cape and a scarf. That's just asking for too much.
It's trouble.
So I was like, "This is cool. I like my bird. That's what a cool thing. I customized my bird. You can customize your skateboard and your wheel color too." And I was like, "Okay, great. This is awesome. I love this." And then you get into the game, and again, I don't think it's so much about how it controls. It controls like a weaker Tony Hawk game, but it still feels fine. The main problem I have is the camera. The camera, I think, is a mess. That multiple times I got into a spot where the camera didn't know what direction I wanted to go in. I just get on my board, I haven't moved yet, and the camera is freaking the fuck out of going, which way are you going? Which way are you going? I don't know. And it just keeps it's kind of fitting because like a bird, it is just flapping all over the place of trying to figure out where the fuck it's supposed to be. Holy shit, man.
Who's saying that? I'm like a bird. Anyway, do you think that has anything to do with the Switch? Or do you think that's just like the game in general?
I don't know. I think it's just the game.
Okay,
I'd be interested. You're the one with Game Pass, so I'd be interested
I
to
can check
see
it
if
out.
you could pop that in and just tell me how the camera works. Um,
Can
but it
I?
feels like there's just too many situations where it flies around and tries to figure out where it should be, and it just never feels good.
All right, this isn't a fair thing. All right, like because
Hmm.
this is so unfair, and I acknowledge it's unfair, but I'm just going to bring it up. I know that the
Sure.
whole thing, this game's called Skatebird, and so what I'm asking here is let's say that this was just a generic, like think of the ramp, how it just had like generic characters in it. If this was just a
Yeah.
skating game,
If it didn't have the birds in it,
yeah,
yeah,
like would it?
probably wouldn't think. Well, so the birds are one part, but I think the birds leading to that kind of Micro Machines feel of
Right,
look at us, we're in a kid's bedroom to
right.
start with. So I'm ramping off magazines. I'm going down a discarded pizza box.
Now we're
Like
talking.
here's a bunch of staplers that are stacked in a way, and then they've got a straw in there, and I'm able to grind up that straw and then jump off that. Um, that stuff is really cool to me. So if somebody just made like a miniaturized skateboarding game that didn't star a bird, I'd probably still like it. But the bird part is also fun. I think they do a lot of cool stuff with the bird. In fact, all the other birds you meet in the levels that give you different tasks to do, those are all birds that you could totally make in the character creator. You
Oh,
can go,
cool.
oh, that was beanie number 2 and shade
Got it.
the little round shades. It's kind of neat that all these birds were generated in a way I could make my bird look exactly like any one of these birds,
Okay.
and that'd be kind of fun. Um, I like its premise. It's from a mission standpoint, it is absolutely just Tony Hawk, where you are grabbing the skate letters, or you are trying to do 9,000 points in 120 seconds, or you need to grab 10 of these things by grind, or you need to do this transfer. They slowly kind of meet out, or all the mechanics are in there, but they slowly tutorialize you on here's how you do a spine transfer, here's how you do a manual. Let's do grinds. Let's do a grind to a jump to another grind.
Right.
The one unique thing that this game has is because you're a bird, you're actually able to kind of double jump or ollie multiple times and kind of flap your wings. So you could jump and then do like a little flap to get a little bit more air if you need to land on this perfect spot to start your grind. And that's cool. It can also screw you up a little bit where it feels like you have to keep jamming on a button
Sure.
to get anywhere, and sometimes I feel like I'd want it to show up, like if I'm going off a vert ramp and I want more air up here, it doesn't. You can't just flap your wings and get more air like this. You have to kind of be going off like a more like 45-degree ramp to be able to get that extra jump there, or that extra height. Um, it's it's close to what I'm looking for, but it just has enough things that are holding it back. I eventually, within an hour and a half, I was starting to kind of get the controls down, and those weren't bothering me. They still were stiff for sure, but they weren't keeping me from having a fun time. I think it's just that it's honestly outside of its cutesy aesthetics and that kind of stuff. It's just kind of flat, and
That's a
that's
bummer. I wanted that game to be
yeah,
cool.
it is kind of a bummer.
I wanted that to be a lot cooler
And
than it is.
it's still cheap. You can
Yeah.
and on Game Pass it's essentially free. So there's stuff you can do there, but I don't know.
Uh, I get it. I get it, man. Like that game, it really broke my heart that it wasn't what it could have been. I wanted to be more. But I'll check it on Game Pass. I mean, what's it going to cost me? $14.99 a month.
Yeah, and you were already going to pay that anyway. Um, well, I mean, knowing our new follower here, maybe we should talk just like a tiny bit about Monster Train.
Yeah, a little bit of
um,
that goes a long way, right?
yeah, I haven't played too much more since our last time. I'm certainly not up to where our new follower Brian Glenn is. Um, but that game still rules. I want to play more of that. Like that is on my list as we get into like our backlog stuff. Like yeah, I don't need to play any more of that to know exactly where it's going to go in my game of the year list.
Right.
But there's another part of me that's like, I should go back and play more Monster Train anyway.
Well, hey, what do you say? Maybe this Monday we play a little Monster Train.
Yeah, I'd be totally up for that.
I mean, we're kind of doing like this restructuring of our next series. We got some time.
Yeah,
I'd say let's play a little bit of Monster Train on Monday night.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to kick out Brian. I mean, happy to have Brian here in the chat with us tonight. But Brian, you should come back next Monday and kind of teach us the ways of the Monster Train conductor.
That would be very helpful. Chase, outside of Skating with Birds and Heading East, are any other games that you're checking out right now?
Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to give an update on World Flipper. The last time we talked, which was a couple weeks ago, about World Flipper, I did mention at the end of the 32X episode last week, but I had a lot of issues with that game, technical issues, when I started it that day, 2 Wednesdays ago, I guess. And since then, there's been a couple updates, and I haven't had any problems performance-wise, technical-wise with that game at all. There's been no crashes. It's been perfectly stable the rest of that time. So basically, disregard everything I said because they fixed it real. And I'm just playing a lot of World Flipper. It's really good. It's really, really good. I think it is. So I haven't put any money into it yet, which is kind of nice. And I think they have been doing a lot of good things to give you some currency to let you get your pulls without having to. I mean, this is a gacha game. It's a pinball game, but it's a gacha pin. They've given me enough currency where I haven't felt the need that I need to spend anything. But I feel like that game is also like there are tiers of people playing that game. There are the people who go in, they might get like one good 4 or 5 star character out of their first pulls, and they'll go, okay, cool, I'll just play the game now and enjoy that. And you just kind of play with your characters, and everything's fine. And I think you're dealing with this in the gacha games that you've been playing recently. But there's that when you scratch the surface and you go, okay, what if I wanted to get slightly better at this game? Like, there's so many characters here. Like, should I be using anybody in combination with each other? And the game goes, oh yes, you should. Yeah. And then you get very deep into people saying like, oh, these are the characters that you're supposed to use in conjunction with each other, because everybody's got like a main character and then a sub character. And then you have 3 spots in your party, so you actually have 6 characters that you put in, so 3 mains and 3 subs. So what are the good synergies? And I didn't realize this at the beginning of the game, but you want to be using more characters of the same element. So there's fire, water, electricity, wind, dark, and light. And so if you want to get the good damage, you need to be using more characters of the same element, because they can do more cooler synergy things that make them more powerful. And it gets to the point
how much that has in common with what I'm playing.
Oh, sure, absolutely it does. But you don't have to do any of that stuff, and I think you'll still be relatively successful. But there is definitely that. I could be playing this game a little bit better, and now it's, I really need to get this 5-star character, because if I don't have that 5-star character, there's no reason for me to use wind, because if I don't have that character, then the rest of these wind units are basically nothing.
Giving me some itches over here. I'm playing Genshin. It's kind of bad. World Flipper. I went back to Genshin. That was not smart. I'm now looking at I'm at a level of Genshin that I never was before when it first came out, where I'm like, maybe if I start to like do some, building the teams, I'm looking at rosters, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I'm with you. I get that completely. World Flipper is a free gacha game on mobile, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a really solid one. I'm having a good time. I'm honestly having a really good time putting it on auto mode and just watching the computer play the game for me, which I know is kind of sad. but the computer never misses when the big skills like the ultimates, it hits those every time, whereas I can whiff those as a regular player. It does make pretty bad normal shots though, so there is some balance to playing that game and utilizing the auto in the right way. But it's just a fun little thing that I can play for 5 minutes in a session and get through a few things and get some materials. One last thing I do want to mention is that because if you want to get good at the game, you have to have multiple characters of the same element. It's like they know that because then you can each character has what's called a mana board that has a bunch of secondary skills or power-ups for that one character, and you have to use a bunch of materials that you get by playing the game to get those things, and those materials are based on element. So I've got a fire character, a couple fire characters. I want to build up them, so I need more of the fire element stuff, which means I need to fight more fire element enemies. Fire element enemies are kind of resistant to fire, so I actually need water characters to be able to fight those guys effectively to get the fire stuff that I need for my actual fire characters. But the worst thing, I need fire materials for these 3, 4, 5 different characters that I have, because those are the characters I have that I can do the best thing with. So all of my materials now need to be spread across all these characters, which means I never have enough of those materials to get anybody
unless you pay
to the point that I need them to be. No, it's not about paying. It's about time. It's about putting in the time to keep grinding these fire materials. But when I do, I know that it's only going to one character at a time because I can't put any of these other materials into things because they're already gone because they're in the one.
Are you playing this on your phone or your iPad?
I'm playing on my phone. I think it works great on the phone.
Okay.
But it's just something that's going to be a big, long time. Which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice to know that every 5-minute session of every day that I play it is, hey, I'm getting a few materials, and those will eventually be good here or there somewhere. I am getting worried though that right now they have a couple banners out that are pretty bad. Apparently, they just don't have many good characters in them, or they have too many characters where you just don't know what you're going to get. We're going to get to a point, because this game's been out in Japan and Korea, I think, for at least a year, and so they've gotten way more characters. So they're kind of repeating all that content here for America, but some stuff they've got changed as well. It's not like they're just redoing everything that they did on the other side, because some things got buffed or nerfed, and they've kept some of those things for this version. But based on kind of where that roadmap is that we had for what happened in the East, we can kind of start guessing, okay, this banner in a couple months is probably going to be the one that has the big character everybody needs in it. So I guess I'm just saving my currency and potentially my money for that time. Anyway, I need to stop talking. Bobby, is there anything else you want to mention with Genshin while we're talking about this? I will say I have no problem getting back into Genshin with you, but I am waiting. I've mentioned this on the show before. I'm waiting to get my one character. I didn't get Ganyu when she first came out, and honestly, I could take or leave that game. I think it's cool, but without the characters that I want to play, I'm kind of okay just not playing it. But if Ganyu comes back, I will totally spend all the monies and get her and probably play that game for a very long time. Who knows?
Okay. I'm having a great time with it. I've been unwinding with it quite a bit. I've been playing it across all areas now. I got everything synced up from PlayStation to PC to mobile, so that feels really good. And because I was able to get the PlayStation synced up, I was able to get Aloy unlocked before she drops for everybody here in a few weeks. And I really like what they've done with her. Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn fame has made her way to Genshin Impact. And you also get her Predator bow. And so she is an ice type, which you mentioned that she should be electric. I agree. I think that she's really cool. I like her personality in the game a whole lot. She brings a lot of her spirit. that you would hear from the game. It's a different voice actor, of course, but she's in the rotation, and I'm having a good time. I've got a lot of the map unlocked now, and I'm just bouncing around doing my daily stuff. There is a pretty big steep incline for some of the events that I would need your help with.
Yeah.
But that game's not going anywhere. They introduced a new character, or a new priestess today or the other day. I'm not overly concerned with that, but I am trying to just build up some world tiers and get my characters to a good spot where they can run through some of the stuff. And
now that they've kind of broken the seal and gone, oh, here's a character, here's a crossover character, and somebody like Aloy, there's a part of me that goes, ooh, maybe I should wait until other crossover characters.
A Gundam shows up.
Might be ones that. Well, not Gundam exactly, but in MiHoYo's other game that they've got, other mobile game called Honkai Impact, the Honkai Impact 3rd, I believe is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely had an event for Asuka from Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Okay.
And if you just dropped Asuka into Genshin Impact, I'll give you some money.
Sure.
If you want some money, there you go. But I could totally see them doing something to that effect with, maybe it's not Neon Genesis Evangelion characters, but maybe, if they did find other good crossover characters, I could see myself coming back to Genshin to
I'm just going to put it out there. Hear me out. Put it on the Switch and have an exclusive Fire Emblem character that would be in that game.
God damn it, Bobby. Why'd you do that? Why did you say such a thing?
Put it on the Switch and make it limited to just that platform. You can have a Nintendo character from Fire Emblem.
Yeah, if they put like Lucina in it or Tharia or something like that, it'd probably be game over for me.
All right. So yeah, that's Genshin Impact. But I did play a few new games. And the first one I talk about is a game called Kena Bridge of Spirits, and I
want to hear about that game.
Yeah, I think it was one that like we've seen for a while. This has been teased by Sony quite a bit. Some of their events that they've had for PlayStation. It looks like a rare game, in my opinion. It looks like something like Camino. I think that's the name of that game that came out on the 360. Camino, right?
Is
that right? Where you like the elemental thing?
Like something like that. God damn it! I just write in Camino, and it's Star Wars, of course.
That's what I'm saying.
What is that game called?
Just do 360 launch titles. It was a launch title for it. You'll be able to find it.
I thought it was an original Xbox game. No, you're right. It
was a launch title for 360.
Cameo Elements of Power. That's right. Yes.
So I think it would be easy to maybe like. That's how I looked at it. Like, oh, it looks like Cameo or something like that. This game is made by a company called Ember Lab, and Ember Lab, this is their first game. And before they got into making video games, they were like this crazy, like I won't. It's like Pixar DreamWorks. They did some crazy CG stuff. If you go to their website, they literally have like a portfolio showing like, hey, here's our character reel, like where they make some Zelda characters and some other things there. It's really impressive. And as soon as you fire up the fucking video game, it makes complete sense. This is, on one hand, we talked about Eastward and the pixel art and like how it's a champion of that and how well it does it. When it comes to style, if you're talking about like playing a Pixar movie or a DreamWorks, something like that, the animations in this game are unlike any I've ever seen. It is visually stunning. We talk about best style quite a bit. We also talk about best looking. And holy shit, like this is one of the most best looking games I've played. So I tried to play it on PC, and it's exclusive to the Epic Game Store. It did not want to work with a controller at all. And so I was like, you know what? Like, let me do some research. And I was looking at it, and I came across it was supposed to be on PlayStation. Well, it's designed to take advantage of the new DualSense. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get a refund on PC, download it on PlayStation. And it looks incredible on there, and the controller works really well. So you are, let's see here. How do I position this? The whole thing is the civilization of people. When they pass on, they carve a wooden mask for them, and as the wooden mask deteriorates, that is essentially the length of time it takes for your spirit to transition to the other side, which I think is a really cool concept. Okay. And so However, spirits in that journey can get stuck and get lost and then become corrupted. And so you are there to like be a spirit farer, so to speak, and you are helping usher these spirits to the other side in a way not quite like Spirit Fair, the game that we talked about last year, but you're also dispelling these environments where corruption has taken place. And so you'll come across some of the most lush, beautiful worlds that you've ever been in, but then you'll come across these like big, kind of overgrown, terrible feeling, sounding areas. And you've got some equipment to take care of it. You've got this mystical staff that allows you to put this shield around you that you then burst. It's the very first action they make you do in the game. And when you do it, it lights up stuff around you and you work through this cave and there's some crazy lighting that happens. But it's how you dispel things. So the game has a simple quick attack and then a heavy attack. The heavy attack has a really good feel to it when you pull on the right trigger. You have to. There's actually some weight to the button to make it feels like you're winding up to do that. So that's neat. But it also has a roll and a parry. So it's got the shoulder buttons like a Dark Souls or a recent Assassin's Creed when it comes to combat. Later on in the game, you will acquire a ranged bow, and the feel you get on pulling back the bow, the haptic feedback feels really good. So the bow is awesome. Yeah. You're not collecting ammo for it. It has kind of a material in it. So if you charge it up, it takes longer, but you get a more powerful shot. You can quick fire them off, and there's a cooldown mechanic, and they have to refill. So that feels really good. And then there's also a traversal element that comes into play with those arrows, that if you do the long shot onto this flower, it teleports you to the flower, and that's a lot of fun to play with. But the game also focuses on something called rot, and they could not be farther from that name. Rot are little creatures that you're collecting in the game. Think of them. I don't want to call them minions. I don't want to call them rabbits because they're not annoying. They're adorable, but they're little squishy blobs.
I think it's more, and this is just where your anime knowledge is not up to snuff, but it's like more like the Studio Ghibli kind of things. There are a couple different things like the My Neighbor Totoro kind of little.
So you're finding them in the worlds and you're collecting them, and as you collect the first one, it's like, hey, get 5, and then it levels up something. So they represent your leveling up, and when you level up, you also level what their capabilities are, and you can aim with your staff. So there might be a situation where you need to move like a large brick, because it's an action platformer. There's a puzzler here with it. So you need
it's a Pikmin game.
Yes. So you need to move this brick that you can hop on to get to a higher ledge, and so you'll hit the button that sends all of your rot over to it, and they go underneath it, and they're making these noises, and you see this thing moving around where you tell it to go, and they'll drop it. They also can, you can use them in battle, and there's been some really cool things that happen with that. Like one is they go back to their ancient form, and that form looks like a blob. It looks like a sea creature before you start to unlock more, and then it starts to take its form. It's like, oh, you're starting to look more like a dragon. But in combat, they can help dispel some of that bad stuff around you, and then they also work to distract an enemy. So when you get the bow, I'll talk about Lost and Random in a minute, but the way that I was shooting crystals off in our quick look for that, with the bow, you're doing similar things, and they'll help distract it there. I can tell you already, like a games for impact, game with heart, just because of the nature of dealing with afterlife. One of the things that you're coming across like immediately, this isn't too much of a spoiler, but there's 2 little twin boys that you are chasing, that you can see that they're spirits. I don't know how aware of that they are, but they're trying to find their brother, their older brother, and you come to find out that their older brother has passed on while searching for them when they were missing, and they don't know this, but their brother's one of those spirits that have also got lost on their journey to the other side, and so they're now corrupted. And this person who's teaching to, like, hey, you have to be really cautious, and like teaching them about the fate of their brother. And so the whole thing is you're trying to find relics to make your brother, or make their brother, understand, like, hey, you're lost, this is who you are, this is what you should be doing. And I really like the voice acting, the writing, the music, like the whole package of this game is really impressive. And I think for anybody with a PlayStation 5, this is an absolute must. Like, I think It looks so damn good. And I think the way that it plays, it's one of those games too. Like I say this like celebratory, like in a celebratory fashion. It's only $40, and I know that that's still not cheap, but it's a $40 game in comparison to some of these $60-$70 titles that you would see on there. And I think it looks much better than some of those $70 games on PlayStation. But it plays really well. I think it's got a cool concept. It takes advantage of the power of the PlayStation. It takes advantage of the controller of the PlayStation. I've probably got like 2 hours into it so far.
Yeah, I was just looking up how long it is, and how long to beat is not how long to beat.com is not the be all end all of timing stuff, but it's got main story is 8.5 hours, main and extra is 11 hours, and completionist tops out at 13.5. So it's not an especially long game, and honestly, that makes me even more excited to give it a shot, knowing that it wouldn't take up. It would be a relative easy one to slip in for me between now and Game of the Year.
I will say this just because I'm the guy that buys the half step consoles. I have this big gaming PC. There's 2 modes on the PlayStation 5 that you can play at. Performance is the one that it defaults to, and that's an upscaled 4K at 60 frames a second. The other one is a 30 frames at a native 4K. I think the 60 is the absolute way to go for this. That's the mode that I've been playing on, and it looks really good still, and it performs really well. But this game, it was one that I wasn't too concerned with. I saw some pretty positive takes on the game, and I thought it looked pretty, so I decided to give it a shot, and I'm happy I did. So I'm making my way through that. I picked that up yesterday. I think it came out yesterday, and I grabbed it there, and I've played a little bit today and last night. And that is Kena Bridge of Spirits. Another game that I'm playing that also, I would say, around best looking, is a game called Lost and Random. And we have a quick look going up. Well, if you're watching this right now, it's going up tomorrow morning. But if you're listening to this, we just posted it to our YouTube page. But Lost and Random is an interesting game. It combines a few things when it comes to combat that can come across as maybe gimmicky on the surface, but the real thing about this game is how much it is a Tim Burton story. It is that gothic fairy tale look. Your character looks like they were carved from wood. The whole world is just so creepy, but not scary. It's got that ugly doll, if you've seen those before, like that ugly doll vibe to it.
Sure.
Your character, I think that I screwed this up on the quick look too. There's 2 sisters named Even and Odd. Your sister becomes 12 years of age, has to roll this dice that determines where she gets placed into the 6 rules or the 6 worlds of this kingdom of random. She gets sent away by an evil queen. You get these visions that something bad has happened to her. You go looking for your sister. You encounter this dice, or this die, I'm sorry, and this die becomes your companion named Dicey. And the whole system of this game revolves around collecting cards. So it's a deck builder in one way. It's also a game of chance because you are filling up this progress bar in your cards to your hand by collecting crystals with your slingshot or rolling through enemies, because you're not damaging them just as your character. But once this meter fills up, the dice says, hey, throw me. And when you throw the dice, it tells you how many action points you get. You can then use those action points for the cards in your hand that will give you a sword or a bow and arrow or a bomb. Excuse me. There's some random cards you can get as well. It's a very interesting combat, because on the surface it looks like an action platformer. I mean, Chase, you saw it. What would you describe it as?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at it and you go, oh, this looks like it would feel like something like, maybe not feel as good, but like Horizon Zero Dawn. You're shooting arrows, you're shooting projectile attacks at things, and then you run up and do some melee stuff. But that's, to your point, that's not how it works. It is, anytime you are shooting, it is really just to make the gimmick work, which is to fill your hand with cards. You have to knock these crystals off, and when you pick up those crystals, it adds cards to your hand, and then once your hand is filled to the threshold that it needs to be, you can throw your dicey friend, and then you can spend those points on the cards that you have in your hand. And yeah, like it looks, it feels like it looks like it would feel a little gimmicky. Maybe in the same kind of way a game like Hand of Fate did. I think of a game like that, where it didn't feel the best for
Right.
sure, but there was something interesting about the gimmick that made it okay. That made it fine to hey, I don't mind if this isn't the best feeling game in the world because I like what it's doing. I like how it's portraying this world and these characters and doing something interesting with a combat system, and that can be cool too. And that shopkeeper, I like that shopkeeper.
Yeah, shopkeeper's pretty good. The story seems to be pretty good. I think that this game, it doesn't come across as like, yes, it's $30, and I don't know, that it's a little high for what I think. I think 20 is probably the sweet spot for a game like this, but who am I to decide those things? You can tell all their eggs were in the style basket for sure. I think combat feels good enough, but I do think that there's obviously, don't go into it expecting a super polished AAA. Like it's fine, but it's everywhere. Like you can literally get this on the Switch. I said this on a quick look. I don't know how the hell this thing would work. It's pretty graphically intense, so buyer beware. If you are on the Switch and that's your only way to check it out, I don't know what to tell you on what to expect. I haven't seen a whole lot of things like Digital Foundry on like how it performs, but it seems pretty intense on the PC side. So that's Lost in Random. I'm excited to finish that one up. I think that there's some really heartfelt dialogue. The voice acting in it is superb, and the setting is the best movie Tim Burton ever made. All right, this is a big one, and I know we're a little pressed for time, so I'll try and keep it brief because there will be plenty of times over the next several months that we will talk about this game.
But, right, and I know Johnny's been playing it a lot too. So and I haven't. So if there's if you want to give like maybe a short version now and know that we're going to talk about this in more detail when Johnny shows up, but I'm good with whatever you want to do.
I'm going to do very brief here. I will say, I'm just going to kind of say, this is probably one of the best games, if not the best game I've played this year. It's high up there. It's very high up. There's a lot of really good games I've played, and this one is standing out. I think about this game all the time. I think about when I'm not playing it. It's the absolute best game Arcane has put out. It reminds me of all the things I loved about Dishonored when it came to some of those abilities.
What's it called, Bobby?
Deathloop. Sorry, I typed it out and I was like, oh, it's on here. I typed it out. I made it, I think. Anyway, Deathloop, the hot shit Deathloop. It's definitely the best time loop game I've played this year. But it's weird, man. Like it's got, and it hits that Sal Bass like mod vibe that I like a whole lot. That from Ape Out, I think the style is there. It's got some really good written dialogue. The characters and all the world that you're in is very fascinating. It is a game that could be pretty up its own ass if it wanted to be, and it could make you fight a lot harder for piecing together these things. But I mean, I really want to wait for Johnny to go into some depth with it, and I know it's not fair.
Sure.
You should absolutely play this.
What if I... yeah, that's tough. What if I bring it up like this? And this is an uninformed opinion just based on the little bit that I've seen. It feels like it is a mixture between Dishonored, which makes sense because it is Arcane, and the new rebooted whatever Hitman trilogy. In that, hey, you are in first person, you are assassinating people, whatever,
right.
But also we're gonna have fun with it, with the Hitman thing, and maybe there's multiple things, especially when it comes to more of like the kind of Hitman stories where you have these scripted ways that you can kill somebody in maybe specific, interesting one-off ways. And it seems like Deathloop is kind of trying to do that. Like, hey, what if you could find these inventive, funny,
Yeah.
interesting ways of getting your kills in a Dishonored game.
Did you ever see the movie
Is that about right?
Smoking Aces?
I I think I have. I can't remember.
Um, I've brought this up to a few people, and I think that because that's a movie about assassins that are trying to all get to this high value target. And so they end up fucking each other over, and you get to see like they each have their own style, like they're very renowned hitmen. But this game is like Dishonored meets Hitman meets Smoking Aces with a dash of Mad Men in it. And I think that
Okay.
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like, I don't like Hitman. I like to watch Hitman, and I always wish that it would connect with me. But this game makes me feel like it has the tempo that I wish I could have in a Hitman game. Because if I fuck up something in Hitman, like the whole setup for it is pretty damn long. Like, I mean, I watched Johnny play it. Like, hey, I want to get this kill, and the cool thing about this one is that like you can go off the rails on Hitman and you can have to like improvise, but this game lets you improvise in a really cool way. And I think it's a game that respects you a lot more than what Hitman does. And like there's a level of, this is a really weird analogy, but I did digital art for a long time, and there was a conversation I had with somebody who did painting, and I was always like, man, it's so permanent. Like painting seems like, if you fuck up, like there's this permanence to it, where like digital art, I can hit Control Z multiple times and like try new things and not feel like I have anything but time lost. And I've been running these loops on Deathloop, and like I know that there's one where I'm like, okay, I need to do this and this. And there's 4 parts of the city that you can explore at 4 different times of the day, and you have to find the right combination to be able to kill 8 people over the course of one day to break the loop. And so I've gotten like my morning and afternoon down. Like I know that I can do, like there's only one way to do those to set up the last 2 stops for the day. So I get to that 3rd stop and I like might fuck something up. I'm like, oh, you know what? Like I'll catch it on the next loop. I get on the next loop. It's not a big deal.
Bobby, you know what they say. There's no such thing as a botched kill, just happy accidents.
Truer words. But no, Deathloop's really cool. I'm gonna pause there on it because it deserves more of a conversation that
Yeah.
I don't think that we're in a spot to have tonight.
Let me ask this, and hopefully it can be a shorter answer. Um, I I liked the original Dishonored. I beat the original Dishonored. Had a good time with it. I pretty immediately did not like Dishonored 2. I don't know if it was just that opening area, that kind of city area. I just did not like it at all. I feel bad that I stopped playing it because I know there gets to be some very cool, interesting levels, like the one where you swap between 2 versions of the same house, or like a Clockwork Mansion kind of thing. Those sound awesome. I just could, for whatever reason, could not get into it. Am I going to not like Deathloop because of my problems with Dishonored
Absolutely not.
2? Okay.
Absolutely not. Like I would say, um, I think people are making a strong connection to Dishonored from Deathloop 1. I mean, it's arcane. The you can have an ability in one hand and a weapon in the other. Like that's a thing. Um, but it's very different. Like it's its own thing. Like I think that it is a very clever game, and I think that your intellectual horsepower on all those things, like in this video games and like nuanced shit, like I think it will itch your brain in a really satisfying way. Like as you're starting to put together this mystery and like understanding like your place in it, it it holds your hand and respects you enough. Like it literally, it's pretty linear for being like, I think that the game will funnel you into one clear defined path. We all might get to that funnel very differently, but at some point in time, we're all going to be on that same funnel. And so, like once you figure out like a section of the game, you get a cutscene from Cole, your character. It's like, hey, this is what's going on. I think that one thing you'll really like, at least for like, I usually have it turned on. I have it turned off right now because I'm trying to get some things like figured out. But there's the invader that you would experience in Gambit and Destiny,
Mm-hmm.
the Juliana can be controlled by a random stranger, or it can be limited to somebody on your friends list, or it can be the AI, the computer. And having another person control that character has been some of the absolute best cat and mouse I've played on a video game, where they come into your world. And the cool thing is they always like the visionaries have exotics, they have slabs, which are your abilities that you get by killing them. Juliana can have any of those, and she'll drop them. The other thing I think you'll really appreciate is that it does have a currency that lets you infuse it. So you're building a loadout on your character that you can change out. And so anything that you have saved will always be there at the start of the loop. So if you have something equipped that's saved and you come across like, well, I kind of want this gun, but I don't want to lose the gun I have, drop your gun, get the new one, infuse it, and at the start of the next loop, you can choose which one you equip. So like that's really cool. But you'll have that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Fighting against people that way was really fun. It changes the game completely. You can also play as that person. So if you want to just invade people's game and fuck the world up, you can do that. I have it turned off right now to just be AI. The AI is pretty bad for her. Not bad, but it's in comparison to like somebody controlling her.
Sure. Yeah.
This is like an easy way because like I'm trying to get through these very specifically right now because I think I'm getting very close to being able to beat the game. And so I don't want to be like when I was just exploring, trying to get stuff, I didn't mind her killing me or coming in. But now I'm like, you know what? I don't want to go through this loop again while I'm doing this. So that's a really cool thing. I don't think that you should be too concerned with it being Dishonored 2 or Dishonored. It has that some DNA from it, but definitely not the story at all.
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't want to play this game. But well, I mean, I don't want to play this game. I think is maybe more accurate. I wish I could say, I don't need to play it. It's fine. But you know, I think it is making a compelling case, and you were making a compelling case for it. That. Fuck.
Well, let me say this: we're gonna Johnny and I are gonna record a quick look for it. Maybe, just maybe, you come and tag along just to see it in action with us. I know you've watched some stuff, but
yeah, I mean, at the very least, I'll watch what you guys do. But yeah, I might be inclined to pop in and watch that happen.
So that's Deathloop. It's a good game, but there's some other good games that we have to remember.
Yeah, we do have a couple news things. I'll handle the news with Johnny being out. But before we talk about news, we definitely wanted to get to this segment that we talked about, and that was, we only have a few months left of the year. There are some games that we know that we want to finish that are on our own personal backlogs. There are games that we know that we've played that maybe the other people on this podcast, or at least for us, just you and me, haven't played. And maybe there are some games that we need to pay more attention to before the end of the year, because it might show up in Game of the Year time. So I think this can be a pretty loose discussion. Bobby, I'll say that honestly, I've been extremely proud of you this year, in that I feel like you have played pretty much all of the games that I would want you to play. And in fact, I would say this year more than most, you've brought games to me that I need to try. That I want to, oh hey, this is a cool thing, Chase, you should play this, and more often than not, I've had the means to play it.
Yeah.
And that's been pretty cool. Things like Loop Hero, and it's like, oh yeah, I should check out Loop Hero, and ended up really really liking that game. Yeah.
We when we do these things here on the show, oftentimes Johnny and I are very similar. We like a lot of the same shit. You've always been more of on the fringe of like, I wouldn't say like obscure things, but you're definitely more into like non-AAA.
I have different genres for sure.
For sure.
And like I like strategy games. I like more Japanese RPGs. I just have kind of different ones, and I'll play first person shooters, and I played a fuck ton of Destiny. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel like you and Johnny are playing many similar games, a lot of overlap, and
but this year I think it's kind of been the opposite. I mean, with Johnny, I've played like most of the games that I've played that I've liked that are bigger games that you would expect. They're there, but a lot of this other shit, like this is stuff that you would be playing. That I like. I think that you and I will probably team up more this game of the year than Johnny and I have in the past.
Yeah, yeah, and I think something like our Casual Mondays has borne that
100%.
out as well. Like, even though I guess I have physically played Fights in Tight Spaces through Parsec over your copy of the game. But like things like Fights in Tight Spaces, things like Monster Train, things like Loop Hero, those are things that you and I have really been
Big
getting
games.
into. Yeah, pretty good stuff. I will say, so I've got two games here that I think you should play, and this is also a little unfair because I know you've played at least one of them.
Okay.
Um, did you play the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade?
Yes, and I
Okay.
thank you for reminding me. I'm maybe halfway through that.
Okay. It's pretty short, especially if you ignore the Fort Condor thing. I think, which I think is fun. It's just kind of a little side thing. If you just kind of go through that, I think it's pretty solid. I think Yuffie plays like a dream, especially compared to
She
the
is
way
so
that
good.
the other characters played in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Um, and I know you're still kind of worried about spoiler stuff, and there isn't because none of this stuff is
Cool.
like all of this stuff is brand new to me, to Johnny, to anybody who's played Final Fantasy VII. Like none of this was got categorized or got cataloged somewhere. So you're totally fine to play it and be okay. Um, but yeah, I think that's worth finishing just
I
to
don't
to
think
see
Johnny
that stuff.
started that, by the way.
Yeah, what a weirdo! Like that was our game of the year. That was our game of the year
It was
last
our
year.
game of the year last year. It's also his, depending on which day you ask me, favorite game of all
Mm-hmm.
time. And the fact that me, like me, no, you know
Mm-hmm.
me,
Yep. Uh-huh.
had that downloaded, ready to go, and has put more time in it than him. I'm not like it's not a competition, but it's just surprising that this is essentially like if there was anything Zelda related for me that came out, and I was like, I'll get around
Yeah.
to it.
It's like if they made a second Psychonauts game and you guys had played more of it than me. Oh fuck! Oh god damn it!
Yeah, is it safe
We'll
for me to say
we'll get
that's a game that you should play this year?
we'll get to that one. It's on the list. The other game that I know you've put a good amount of time into, but you need to put more. And you know what I'm gonna say? It's Monster Hunter Stories 2.
Yeah,
Um,
it's on here.
it's a long game. I get it. It's a very long game, but I think it's really cool. And honestly, I think that game gets even better once you finish it, once you beat it, and can start finding the monster variants and getting a lot of really cool end game stuff. I think that game opens up a ton once you get to that. It's so good. I want to go back and just grind up more monsters at this point, and I've put a ton of time into it. So
Here's some good news. I've got
yeah.
a trip coming up in a few weeks. First trip in a couple years where I am going to be on a plane. I'm not going to be playing video games the entire time I'm on this trip, but I will have a lot of time on travel, and then in the evenings, like unwinding, I'll be in a pretty desolate place. So I will have the new Switch OLED model, and I will be
Hmm.
traveling. I won't have my PC, all this other stuff. Like I'll be playing that. So I intentionally bought a few games that I knew I could play on that as well. But Monster Hunter is up there. I love that game. I adore that game. I sunk a ton of time into it. It was all I played for a while, and I got nervous. I'm like, you got to play their shit because you can't just keep only playing this. And so,
Yeah.
I think I'm close, man. Like I
I
know I'm on like I think I'm coming down the volcano.
think you've got a good amount of game left, honestly. Um, but yeah, like that is a potential number one for me. Like
Yeah,
I love that original game on the 3DS, and this game is all of that and way more
yeah.
and better. And it's there are a lot of really good games that came out this year, and it's going to be a battle. But that is one that is vying for that top spot, and so I definitely want more people to have played more of that game, and that'd be cool. All right, Bobby, how about you? What do you have on your list that you think I need to put some time into other than Deathloop?
Yeah, I think that you absolutely need to find a way to check out Chicory: A Colorful Tale, and
Mm.
that is pretty high up on my list of things to finish. I've loved everything about that game that I've played so far, and I don't have any reason besides just chasing the new games in the podcast curse to not go back to it. I think it's a relatively short game as well. Um, I believe it's on PlayStation. I think it might be on the Switch as
Yeah.
well.
It's not on the Switch, but it is
Okay.
on PC and PlayStation. So
So
that's where I'd play it on.
that game is really cool. I think that it should be checked out for sure. I mentioned Deathloop. Like, I can tell you right now, like, that is a game that will be pretty high up on my list. But you know, like, I would tell you, like, hey, I think there's a chance that Fights in Tight Spaces might come out of early access and be out, and there's a possibility because other games that company Ground Shatter has made has ended up on the Switch. I don't know if I should tell you, like, I feel like there's nothing that you would know, like,
I
you
mean,
know that game. You've
right, like we have experienced that game together. Like I
Yeah.
haven't physically been touching the keys very often, but yeah, I know what that game is, and I think I'm in a position where I'm happy to. I mean, I will back you on that game in pretty much every category you want
put it
to
in.
mention it for.
Yeah.
So, in terms of just strategizing for Game of the Year, you got me. You got me already on that.
I will also say, if you still have your Apple Arcade account, maybe not for
I've got it
Fantasian.
for like I've got it for like another 13 days.
Okay. I would encourage you to put some time in with Clap Hands Golf.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I know you really like that.
and I think that even for being touch, it's really easy because it's golf.
Yeah.
So I would definitely
Well,
put.
I don't love the controls and UI of Everybody's Golf. I tolerate it because I still think there's some cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
I like the mechanics of Mario Golf way more. Although we've both noted the problems that game has. But I
Yeah.
think mechanically, I really like what that game is doing just from a control standpoint. Clap hands being touch based actually is more tolerable for me or more enticing to me to go, okay, Clap Hands, the developer of both Everybody's Golf and Clap Hands Golf.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more approachable from a control standpoint on a phone. I feel like I could put some time into there. At the very least, to get my boy
Don Pappas. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. You gotta get the Pappas.
So Clap Hands Golf has been my favorite golf experience since like peak Tiger Woods. Like, I like it that much. It's weird because that came out at the same time Fantasian did, and I was like on that high for Fantasian, and I still need to go back and check it out. But because Clap Hands just took me so much, like I think it even soiled some of my stuff with Mario Golf this year. Like, there's nothing like Mario Golf multiplayer is great. The story sucks, but like purely mechanically speaking, I'd much rather play Clap Hands all day long. So like those are things I'd recommend to you, Johnny. If Johnny listens to this, Johnny absolutely needs to. He needs to play Eastward. Like, I can't.
Oh, absolutely. That I think is the number one for me for him to play.
Yeah, like it is,
and that's probably a little bit of recency bias talking,
right?
But like that game is such an. I mean, we talked about all the reasons people should play that game. Johnny should play that game,
and I think that he needs to put more time in with Monster Hunter as well. Like, I mean, that game is obviously going to be pretty high up on some lists this year, I think.
Monster Hunter Stories, you mean?
Sorry, Monster Hunter Stories. Yes.
Because there was another Monster Hunter game to come out this year, and we don't care about it.
I love that
I don't
game,
care. I
but
don't care.
I think that I like stories better.
My man.
So anyway, that's I would tell Johnny to play Monster Hunter. I would absolutely say, like, if Johnny does anything, he should spend the $25 and play Eastward.
Yeah.
Because the more I play that game, man, the higher it's climbing a ladder for me this year. And
He did tell me he recently purchased Monster. So good on him
I can't believe he
there.
bought it. It's on Game Pass.
I don't. Well, maybe that's what it was. Maybe he just said he got it,
And
and I assumed it was.
I know
bought
that
and was-
he's saying that he's not doing anything until he beats Psychonauts 2. I've read online that game takes about 13 to 15 hours to beat, I think.
Yeah. It's a game. It's a video game. Yeah.
I'm checking him on I am, because like he's playing on Xbox, so I can see how much time he's at like 12 hours and 50 minutes.
Okay.
So he's got to be damn close to finishing that game.
To be fair, Johnny has completed some things this year. He completed Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm so proud of him.
And Ghost of Tsushima.
He for some reason he did that. Yep, that was the thing he did. And I think he's so close to finishing Mobile Suit Gundam, and I cannot wait for him and I to be able to watch a different Gundam show.
Okay.
I love Mobile Suit Gundam. It was great to watch that. I finished it, and I'm waiting for him to finish it as well. Okay, back to games. I want to talk about things. I've got a long list of games here that I would like to either finish or get back to and play more of. I'm going to mostly run through this. I think I'll probably speak to a couple of these a little bit longer. I want to play more Loop Hero. I really like Loop Hero. I got through a few of those. No, I got through a couple of those bosses, but I have not beaten it. I'd like to see more about how the town stuff works. I feel like I've done. I did not do my research on how to make the town more effective. But that game is really cool, and I'd like to go back and
really
play
quick.
More of
when
it.
is that hit? That hits Switch soon, right?
Yeah. Let me look that up. I know they announced it. It just says winter 2021. So we honestly we'll get to it in the news, but we'll probably hear more about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
During the Nintendo Direct, or yesterday again, depending on when you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Because that's all going to be about Switch games that come out.
I have Loop Hero on my list as well.
Yeah, I just want to play more. Like I feel like I know where that game goes on my list, and it will be high. But
we could play that Monday too if you wanted.
We totally could. It's been a long time since I think either of us have played Loop Hero, and I just wouldn't mind remembering how good the game is. We mentioned Fantasian a couple times. That game is definitely on my list. I know I just said I'm letting my Apple Arcade lap, but I think I'm doing that because I have a feeling that it's going to come to Switch. Now that the second part is out, I feel like that's...
You think it'll be announced tomorrow?
It makes perfect sense to put that on Switch. Fingers crossed, man. Fingers fucking crossed for that. I would love that. I hope it comes this year. But even if it's a 2022 thing, I'm willing to wait and play that game on Switch. The phone's just a little too small for me. Mm-hmm. I don't have a good iPad that's capable of running that game.
Yeah. And
I do not like the way it plays on PC because it feels like something that you want to have a little bit better control over. Yeah. So I just need to find a good way to play that game, but I really, really like mechanics. Yeah. Honestly, I think people should go back and watch that quick look that we did on it because it is one of our better ones, I think, of just looking at how cool those mechanics are.
It's a good game. It's a really good game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems
deserves
like a
more really
time.
Good, solid. Yeah, it seems like a solid RPG that has some really cool gimmicks with the combat. And honestly, that is hard to beat for me. That is totally my shit. Yeah. Miitopia, I stalled out in that game. I think I could just go back in and play more of it and be fine. But I also know new Pokemon Snap. I am shocked that I did not take to that game harder, knowing how much I love the first one. But I still like it. I just need to go back and play more of it. Scarlet Nexus, I need to start. I know people in our chat, our friends of ours have told us how good that game is. and I believe them. I played the demo.
Yeah,
I just need
and
to.
you picked it up,
do
right?
it
You do
myself.
have that.
I do have it. Also, if you don't have it, it's on 50% sale. I think on the PSN on PSN's Big in Japan sale right now. So you can go pick it up for a pretty reasonable price. Also, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is like $24 on that same sale. So go pick that up. That game's great. Near Replicant is another game that I own that I have not started yet. That one I feel like, unfortunately, is one I'll probably just keep pushing, knowing that it is a remake of a game that's already come out a number of years ago. It's not fair, but I'll probably just discount it on those terms and go, there are other games I should play instead. I want to play more Pokemon Unite. I have not played any more of that game since they brought out Blastoise.
It just came to phones.
Yeah, it just came to phones, so there's new fresh meat out there, and I like that game. I'm surprised at how much I like that game, and I want to play it with some of those new characters that are in there.
I want to say, Chase, I think it also links up to your account. You can sign in with your Nintendo account, and I believe it'll bring over your shit to your phone as well.
I believe that's the case. I'm only going to play that on Switch. I don't want to play that on my phone. But cool that that's there. Dodgeball Academia. I have not gotten back to that game since the Quick Look, and it hurts me because I thought that game was really good. Sable comes out tomorrow or yesterday. We've gone over this. Love what Sable's doing. I want to play more of that. I want to play that to begin with. Famicom Detective Club. I ended up buying both of those games. They're actually much shorter than I thought they were. Okay. So I might find time to play at least one of them, and hopefully the second one as well. Toem just came out, and I have it on the Switch. And if I wasn't playing Eastward, I'd be playing Toem. I think Toem rules from the bit we've seen, and I just need to find some time. And it's short too. It's only a few hours long. So that's something
even better
I definitely think
for a backlog.
Yeah. Love a good short game. And then Garden Story is another one that I purchased on the Switch. It looks cool. I think I'd like it. And ooh, God, sorry.
He's all right. He's gonna make it.
And there's that Psychonauts 2 or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I probably should play more of that. I did actually play more of that last weekend, and maybe I could talk about it just a bit if I wasn't dying. I got to the next area, which is the
Are you past the casino?
I'm in the casino.
Okay.
I'm in the casino? Yes, I'm in the casino. That's right. I'm still not loving it. It's not.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I don't know. I see the quality that's there.
Yeah.
I go, this is a good game, but it's just not spark joy or whatever bullshit. I'm not getting it. It hurts me how much I'm not getting it. And it hurts me even more that you guys like it and love it and want to and are just singing its praises every time I talk to you.
What do you think it is, though? Like, what's keeping you from crossing that?
I don't know. Like, maybe it's just I don't like those kinds of games anymore. I don't know. I really don't know. I like, if you talk to me about the different component parts of that game, I think they're all great. I'm just struggling a lot to find enjoyment out of it, and it sucks. It sucks that I feel that way.
Man, that is a bummer because I think that game is really cool.
I will finish it. I'm sure. Like I just need to get to a spot where maybe something will inspire me again. You guys were talking about a really inventive level. I have an idea of what that might be. If I think about stuff from the first game, I don't know. I still don't know what you guys are talking about, and I don't want to know and see it. But
yeah,
it's frustrating how much it's not clicking with me.
That's a bummer, man. That's a bummer to hear.
How about you, Bobby? I'm sure you've got quite a few things on your list.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and
that you
get
need
through
to-
these pretty quick. And if we get to the news, we get to the news. If not, we don't. Um,
Yeah.
so Subnautica Below Zero, I talked about this before the show. I played Subnautica for the first time this year and beat it and have fallen in love with that game. I had picked up Subnautica Below Zero before picking up Subnautica. Went to some forums like, no, go play Subnautica, you idiot. That game's really good. I'm glad I did. However, Subnautica Below Zero was in early access. I've had it for a while. I waited for it to hit 1.0. I'm not upset about that, but I didn't really get to progress through the game the same way. And it was just a lot of Subnautica in one time. And that's a game that can be a bit unsettling. So I got to be in a good mindset to go into it because it's eerie being underwater with all those things that want to kill you.
Totally.
So I love that game. I think it's a fantastic video game. It's probably one of the best survivor crafting type games I've played, but I need to put more time in it. And it just hit Game Pass. So that is now on Game Pass. If you're listening to this, you have no reason not to check it out if you have that. It's fantastic. I already told you Chicory. I need to finish that myself, but I think there's a lot to be said about that game. Loop Hero, Monster Hunter 2, or Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. Like all those games need to be I know where Loop Hero is for me, but I'd like to see it finished. I think it's a game that I'd like to beat. I have Fantasian here. Truth be told, I just don't know if I'm going to get to it. It's a big game. They're adding a part 2.
They added a part 2. I think it came out last month.
They added a part 2. I don't know if I can get to it. One that I think I need to put some more time into, and maybe this is something that we look at for Monday nights, but I need to spend more time with Griftlands. I like that game a whole lot. I want to see what happens with that game. I know that you can't play that in an effective way. I, however, can.
Yeah. I just don't like that Switch version. It really turned me off. And then I get a game like Monster Train that goes, oh, hey, we do this kind of thing way better. And I go, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I just kind of stopped caring about Griftlands entirely. And that's sad because I was really excited about that game for a long time.
Yeah, I want to know more about what's going on there. I like the systems there. I need to check that out more. I put down the Ascent because they continue to put patches out there to fix some of the performance stuff with that game, but from a world building and just a good RPG, like that game's getting a lot of love, and I do like what I played with it. I think I missed a window to play with other people, but that's on Game Pass. There's no reason not to play that more. So I want to check out that. I told myself I was going to beat Clap Hands, and when I say beat Clap Hands, I was going to unlock all of the areas, which is a very big game. I want to at least get all the characters. I don't think I'm too far off from that. I'll probably try and do that as well. Psychonauts 2, strong game of the year, darling. Really enjoying my time with it. Could see it being on a lot of lists for us. I want to finish it. It's on Game Pass. I have no excuse. It's a shorter game. I'm putting the time in. I'm doing the work. Another one that I want to check out more is Axiom Verge 2. I did not care for Axiom Verge the way that other people did. This one, however, has made a pretty big impression on me, and I like a lot of the systems. And I don't know how long it is, but I think that I'm doing pretty good with that. I need to finish up the Final Fantasy DLC, as you mentioned. I got Ratchet and Clank on here, and I really like what I saw with Ratchet and Clank. I feel like Psychonauts kind of occupies a similar headspace for me, and I think Psychonauts is a better video game. But Ratchet and Clank is an achievement in its own right for the PlayStation 5. So I want to go back and finish that. I don't think I'm too far away on that one either. Deathloop, very close to finishing the loop. Eastward, talked about that a lot. Toem, same thing as you. Had Eastward not been out, I have that on the Switch. I mentioned earlier, I grabbed some games for the Switch. That's one of which I will absolutely finish Toem this year. I loved everything about that game. I just started Kena Bridge of Spirits. I think that is a shorter game as well. And I will, well, you said it was. We talked about that. I will be checking that out to completion. And then Sable. Sable is pretty high up there for me, and it's currently installed. And that's my
Did you finish the Crow Reaper
Death's Door
game?
Yep, I beat that.
Okay, cool.
And that is a really good game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody said I needed to play it before Game of the Year times.
I don't know if you like that game.
No, I don't think I would.
Yeah, it's got quite a bit of Zelda in it. It's got a little bit of Dark Souls in it too. Um, I think
Yeah, I respect what it is and what it's doing. I just don't think I would enjoy it.
that's a game I would tell Johnny to finish. I don't think that you have any
Yeah.
business playing it, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's good.
And obviously, other than Sable, we didn't mention any other games that are coming out the rest of this year because they can't be on our backlog yet. They haven't come out.
Yeah.
We don't want to spoil anything in our monthly previews. We've got the October preview coming up real soon, but we know things like Metroid Dread is coming out. Those Pokemon Gen 4 remakes. Lots of stuff still coming out, and then even more stuff that's gotten pushed to 2022 that we don't have to care about, thankfully, until then. But yeah, lots of other games coming out. But I did want us to just take a moment to look back and see some games and think about like, oh yeah, I really should finish that or start that
Totally.
or buy that or just play that a little bit more. So I was glad we got to have that conversation. Bobby, would you be okay? I think we can skip most of the news here. There isn't a ton of great stuff. There's a new Pokemon trading card game that's coming out, which I don't exactly know what that is, but it might be cool. There was a big NVIDIA GeForce Now leak that potentially leaked a bunch of games, but also some of that might be bullshit. We're still kind of trying to figure that stuff out. But there is a new Nintendo Direct that is coming out tomorrow. Oregon happened yesterday, based on when you're listening. It's going to be roughly 40 minutes long. It's focusing on Switch games that are coming out this winter, which this winter is both 2021 and 2022, so not necessarily all games that are coming out this year. One thing that's been heavily rumored is that Game Boy and Game Boy Color games are going to show up for Nintendo Switch Online.
Yep.
That seems good. They should do that.
Yeah.
As the gamer on the go here, I think they should do that. But I wanted to ask you, is there anything that you want to predict or wish for, either one or both, for tomorrow in that you think could or should be in that Nintendo Direct?
I don't know how much is going to be focused on indies because they've kind of categorized that in indie world or the nindies in the past. But I think that you're absolutely going to see a lot of Pokemon tomorrow. And I think that you're going to see potentially even more of Pokemon, the one that's coming out next year.
Arceus.
I think you'll see some stuff for Arceus, a little bit more of that. Not as much, but I think they're really going to be highlighting the remake coming out. I think you'll get that final Smash character teased.
Yeah.
I think that's probably...
Who do you think it is? Do you think it's Goku? Do you think it's Sora?
I think it will be a non-Nintendo character. I think that's fair.
That's probably fair. But at the same time, though, if this is the very last Smash character they ever make, for this game at least, maybe you do go back to the roots. Maybe you do go back and let's get a Nintendo character in there. I still will forever hold my torch for Isaac from Golden Sun. It's not going to happen. I've
seen a lot of stuff for people really asking for Master Chief, which
sure at this point, whatever.
Why not?
I think his guns are too realistic. I think that's the problem. You're not going to have that show. Right. But you have Solid Snake, and he's uses guns, so I don't know. It's a good question.
Watch this be Waluigi.
It probably will be. That'd be hilarious, though. I would actually respect that in a way. But I think you've got Nintendo has been using this as a way to do third-party kind of crossover stuff and use it as a marketing opportunity. So I could totally see that being the case as well. But I'm just excited to see who it is. I hope they play well. I hope they're interesting.
He doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But who's the character with the key?
Character? Do you mean Sora from Kingdom Hearts?
That seems to
Yeah,
be a pretty good fit here. The other thing
that's
too
what a
is
lot of
like
people want. We've gotten a lot of Square characters though.
that's true. That's true. I'm like scratching my head here. Like I'm thinking about like games that they've done crossover shit with in the past. Like they've done stuff with Bethesda a few times now.
Yeah.
Like could it be the Doom guy? Um,
Yeah, I mean they've got the Dovahkiin armor set for Mies already, so like there is some
yeah.
Bethesda stuff already in there, so they do have a relationship. Yeah,
Who
it'll
knows?
be interesting to see. But yeah, anything else game wise that you want to see or interested
Look, I
in?
mean, like I know there's not anything else with it, but like I am. This is my chance to just lament that I feel like they've done Zelda wrong this year. Um, and I know that a lot of
Bobby,
that.
Skyward Sword HD. What more do you want?
I heard that ended up being a bit more alright than what we all thought it would be, but I I would love nothing more than for them to be like, hey, here's Wind Waker HD and here's Twilight Princess HD. Those two ports they did right before the sun set completely on the Wii U. They did this really cool port for both those games. I would love to see Wind Waker. Just give me Wind Waker on the Switch. I'd be
Sure.
very happy with that.
I wonder if part of it is, hey, we don't want to put out too much Zelda shit because we're still working on that Breath of the Wild 2,
Yeah.
and we don't want to get people tired of Zelda before the new big Zelda comes out. And I can totally understand that. I just Skyward Sword HD is not how I
And a
would whet
fucking
the
Game and
appetite
Watch, man.
of people. Yeah, I hate those Game and Watches. They're not those were not Game and Watch games. Those are NES games that you're putting on a game. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
I know.
Sorry,
I
I'm
know,
getting
man.
very angry.
I just
Um,
I'd like to see something there, and I'd like an update. It's not going to happen here, but I'd love to know what's going on with Sports Story or whatever it's called now.
yeah, no, I think that might happen here.
Yeah,
Like that is a game that they've shown at Indie Worlds before, but I think they showed it off as like the last thing of an Indie World, so they obviously have some confidence in it. I think if it has a release date, if that release date is this winter, then I think this would be a good time to show off Sports Story.
been radio
So
silent.
I think that makes a certain amount of sense that we might hear about that. Um, I would like to hear more about Metal Slug Tactics. I mean I don't know how much more there is to tell us about that game, but that's possible as well. I mean you know what I want, and that's tell us about the new Fire Emblem game, which they're not going to do because even though Intelligent Systems isn't working on it, they have the Advance Wars 1 and 2 reboot camp thing that's coming out this winter. So there's no reason to talk about another turn-based strategy game. They'll talk about Fire Emblem sometime next year, I'm sure. But if they did want to say, hey, by the way, we're making that Binding Blade remake and it's coming out on the Switch, I'd go, cool, give it to me now. But it's not gonna happen tomorrow. Trying to think. We got Spelunky on the Switch now. I don't have to ask for that one anymore.
Do you think there's any possibility of I've been hearing some stuff online. I don't know if this would be for Nintendo or not about some sort of Chrono remake.
I just think that's too complicated to put together. Like you have to get you have to get these different companies to work with each other again. Well, I guess you don't. It is Square and Enix are one company now, so they could do that. You know what if that was it? There you go. There's your big galaxy brain take. It's the final Smash character is Chrono, and it's by the way also Chrono Trigger remake whatever is coming to the Switch. That'd be that would blow the doors off of everybody. I'm
I
sure.
think there might be some sort of new accessory as well tomorrow.
Yeah.
If
Really.
they add shit to the store,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know if it's like I don't know what that would be, but I think that there could be some sort of hardware to accompany like Game Boy games beyond just the Switch itself, like the Pro Controller. I could,
Interesting.
because they've done that for the NES Online, the SNES Online. Like there's those controllers you can buy for it. I would not be shocked
Yeah.
at all if there was
What if I
something.
could get a worm light for my Switch?
What if there was some stupid fucking Game Boy type thing you could use to control, like a
Yeah.
slab? I don't know.
That'd be fun. You know what I want? It probably also won't show up. I don't think it has any chance of being a winter game. But I want to see more of that Dragon Quest 3 remake. That is like the super
The one
pixel
for
remaster.
adults?
Actually, also the Final Fantasy pixel remasters. I think that might also be like that could be something easy they throw on the Switch and go, hey, those things are coming here too. And then I mentioned it earlier, but Fantasian. I would love to hear them say, by the way, Fantasian coming out November of 2021.
What if Nintendo
Boom,
64 games are
you
there?
go. What Nintendo 64 games do you want to play on a Switch?
Ocarina of Time,
Okay.
Majora's Mask,
I'm sorry. I forgot who I was talking to. Yeah, like
Wave
I'd like
Racer.
to play. I do like Wave Race 64, Star Fox 64. You have some options, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've gotten a little bit more into emulation this year, but like I've got ways of playing those games. I'm good. I also have a Nintendo 64 that is still plugged into my television. I can play those games. I'm okay. But yeah. All right, I think that's good. I'm excited. It's always a fun time to see Nintendo Switch stuff. Nintendo Directs are always fun. So we'll see what happens. We'll see who was right, who was wrong, who was completely off. And
We'll find out tomorrow. What time does that go on?
If anything, that's a weird one. It's a late one. At Central Time, it's 5 p.m.
Oh, okay.
3 p.m. Pacific. So an odd time. Usually they kind of do those a little earlier in the day, but we'll see.
Well, let's wrap this up then.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of fun breaking down the games that we need to check out. Appreciate that. Talked about a lot of new games this week too. Johnny, we hope you feel better. Patrick's out making those sweet tunes. Yeah, not really.
Yeah. Also, Bobby, I'm so sorry. I don't have enough coins to make us say something else nice about Johnny.
I told you it will go up.
The price is too high.
I will continue to raise that price. So this week we put out a quick look, Monday night we finished up our XCOM Mondays series. Went great. Tuesday we put up a quick look for Eastward. Today we told you about the games that we should be finishing and the new games that we've been playing. Tomorrow, well, this is if you're watching this live.
Yeah, I know. We have to find a better way of saying that.
I know. We're gonna put up a quick look also for Lost in Random that we talked about earlier in the episode. And then tomorrow night, Friday night, if you're listening to this in the morning, come back to twitch.tv/The Casual Hour, where you will be able to watch the entire Casual crew, if Johnny's feeling up for it, play Mario Golf Super Rush. Super Rush. Which, that should be a lot of fun. We've been talking about it offline for a few weeks now, and we're going to try and get everybody together. You can follow along with all that on Twitter. We're everywhere on social at The Casual Hour. Monday, Wednesday nights, 10:30 p.m. Central. Follow along there for sure. Chase, if they wanted to catch you outside of our show, how would they do that?
Yep. I've got a different podcast that I do called Gamers on the Go that's about handheld video games. No updates there to talk about, but maybe something soon. And then I'm also playing through Super Robot Wars X on my YouTube channel. You can find that at Chasey K Plays. And we're getting close. We're getting closer all the time. That's been fun though.
Always fun. Always a fun time. Well, Chase, thank you for bringing everything that you brought tonight on prepping the news. We're gonna hopefully have some good stuff from that direct tomorrow. We'll get these quick looks put up this week, and then next week, a lot of fun stuff to be had as well. I think we've got it narrowed down to maybe 2 games to check out Monday night. We'll let you know Monday morning what we're going to do. But come back and hang out with Chase and I Friday night and Monday night for some good old-fashioned fun here at The Casual Hour. Everybody be safe. Take care. Chat with you soon.